Hi everyone, welcome to part 3 of full stack development course. In part 2, we have gone through how to create some web pages using HTML, JavaScript and CSS, and we have gone through a little bit on responsive web design. Today we are going to see how can we create a responsive web page using Bootstrap and jQuery, and we are going to touch a little bit on GitHub to store our code, and finally we are going to create some use case for this front end. To start with responsive web design, we need to know the most important concept, or we can say it's a basic concept called grid system. So the grid system will treat the entire page as columns and rows. So this entire screen, whatever you are seeing the screen is rows and columns. The columns will be divided into 12 equivalent pieces, irrespective of the screen, whether you are seeing it in laptop or mobile. The entire column will be divided into 12 equivalent pieces. It is not necessary that you need to split always 12. You can combine multiple columns, like in this thing you are combining first two into one column. So like that you can combine multiple columns into a single column, but the consolidated ratio is always 12. Now I'm going to create unequal columns. It's not necessary that the column will always has to be equal. So here I'm combining first three column into one column. So the size for first three is 1, and I'm going to create a new single column, and here I'm going to create a 2 column into single column. So now we covered 6. So rest 6 columns we are combining into fourth one. So here also the count is totally 12, and I can give a single column, the whole length is 12. This is also possible. You can give us a 12 column length for a single column. To understand the grid system better, we can create some sample responsive HTML. For that, I'm going to create a HTML page with the usual tags, doc type HTML, and I'm going to create a HTML tag as usual. Within that, I'm going to create the first tag, the head, which is the metadata about this particular HTML. I'm going to give the title as Bootstrap page. So this is just to understand the grid system. So as usual, we can define the body section to display the content. After that, we have to mention an important tag with respect to Bootstrap called meta. This has to be inside head section. The first is name equal to viewport. This is for the device, whatever we are going to view it, and the content equal to width equal to device width. Here we are going to set the width is whatever the device we are seeing, that particular device width we are going to set it here, and we are going to set the initial scaling. This is the zooming level that we are going to set it as initially it is 1. So there is no need to zoom. It's a first level of zoom we are having it here. This is the basic tag which we have to put it in Bootstrap. The next is we have to insert the CSS. For that, we are going to put a link tag rel equal to style sheet. Href equal to, earlier we used to have our own CSS. Now we are going to give the CSS with respect to the Bootstrap. It is available in CDN, it's a website, or you can download your own Bootstrap from that site, and you can create that name and put it here. I am giving this link which is a CDN, which is available in this. If you see there, it is a min.css. It's a .css file. So this will have multiple styles, built-in styles within that. We are going to use these styles in this page. So for that, I'm going to create a div tag. I'm going to treat the class equal to container. So whatever we are going to define in this page has to be wrapped in this container. Everything will be present within this container class. So this kind of a wrapper we can say. Within that container, I'm going to divide the page into rows and columns as we saw earlier slides, right? So we can see that page is divided into rows and columns. So I'm going to create a class equal to row. So this particular div will be treated as a row within that container. So this is just a Bootstrap class. We don't need to define anything. Everything will be available in that Bootstrap min.css. So just we are defining the class name equal to row. Within that row, I'm going to create a column. So for that, I'm going to use a class name called col, which is the representation of column. It's a Bootstrap class, and I'm just typing this a first cell. So I have a one row, one column. So I'm creating a cell 1 here. I'm going to create a few more cells or columns. I'm just copying the same thing and pasting it over here to see that multiple cells or columns in the page. So here I have created 3 columns basically. So I have 1 row, 3 column. I'm just mentioning that column size. So first column by default it is 1. Second I'm mentioning at 5. Third one I'm mentioning it as 6. Now the total length is 12. 1 plus 5 plus 6 is 12. First column is very small, second one is bigger, third one is even bigger than that. I have to store this file into a location. I am storing it here, but you can store wherever you want. I am naming this file as bootstrap.html. So now that I can open this page into a browser, the same HTML, I'm going to open it. If I open that, if you can see, the first cell is very small. That's why it is coming down, the number 1, and cell 2 and cell 3 are bigger in size. I just want to make the first one also in the same line. So I'm going to increase that column length from 1 to 3, and I'm adjusting the second column as 3 so that the total will be 12. So if I refresh the page, you can see all the cells are coming in the same line, cell 1, cell 2 and cell 3. I'm just making this as responsive so that we can see the difference in behavior. I'm just resizing the window, and you can see that the cell is getting adjusted by itself. Now cell 1, 2, 3 are in different lines based on the width, and again it's getting back. Bootstrap breakpoints. Breakpoints are the one which plays an important role of displaying the web page with respect to the devices whatever we are seeing it today. By default it is set to mobile, but we can make it adjustable to tab or a large device like laptop or desktop, whatever it is, we can make use of this. We can dynamically change the look and feel of a web page with respect to the devices by making use of this. First breakpoint is extra small devices. We can notify as XS. It is mainly for portrait mobiles, which is having less than 576 pixel. It's a default breakpoint. By choosing a mobile view, Moto G4, I'm just noticing that with this 360, which is less than 576, and I'm just choosing iPhone that is also having 320, which is less than 576 pixel, whatever we have defined here. Next one is small devices. We can specify this as SM. It's a landscape mobile. The width is greater than or equal to 576 pixel. We can see this by changing the view to some of the landscape mobile. So I'm here having iPhone, but here the width is 568. We need to have 576. So I'm just choosing a different mobile. It's a Moto G4 again, and I'm changing the view to landscape. Now the width is 640. So which is greater than 576, whatever we see it here. So far we have seen mobile breakpoints. The next one is medium devices. It's mainly for tabs. So we can specify this as MD. The width is greater than or equal to 768 pixel. So I'm going to change this view to normal one, and I'm going to make it as iPad. It's a tab. So the width is 768 here. So whatever we saw, the same one, 768 pixel. Next one is large devices. It's mainly for laptop or desktop. It is specified as LG, and the width is greater than or equal to 992 pixel. So I'm going to change this responsive so that I can maximize this. I'm just maximizing, but I'm not able to make it, so I'm just going to enter this directly on the screen. Instead of 844, I'm going to use as 992. So this is the laptop or desktop view. The next one is extra large devices. With this greater than or equal to 1200 pixel. So I'm just making this 1200 here, and this is how it looks for the large device, extra large devices like a desktop or a laptop, extra resolutions. So this can be specified by the class XCL. I'm going to make some changes to our HTML to understand the breakpoints better. I'm going to introduce a new column, one more cell. So I have to change the column width because it's exceeding 12 now. So I'm making it as 4, and then 2, so that I'm splitting 4 plus 2 6, and I'm marking this as cell 4, and I'm just giving a border to see the exact differences between each cell. So this is a built-in class in Bootstrap, so I'm just copy pasting in all the columns. So this will put as some border around our cells. So I'm just saving this and refreshing the page to see the difference. Now we can see the borders around our cells. So I'm just resizing the window. In all resolutions it is still having 4 columns. So I'm just putting in mobile. So there also it's displaying 4 columns, even though it is displaying in 2 line in last cell because of the low width. But still it is having 4 cells or 4 columns in all breakpoints. Now we are going to change the behavior based on the breakpoints. So I'm going to put SM, it is small devices, which is a landscape mobile, and I'm specifying the width as 6. So we are going to have 2 different cells or columns, and I'm going to specify the style for medium devices like tab and all. I'm going to set the size as 4, so that we are going to see 3 columns or cells, and for large devices like laptop and all, I'm going to specify the size as 3, so we are going to have 4 columns or cells, and I'm copying the style, I'm putting it in all columns to have the same behavior, and I'm going to save this and refresh the page. So first I'm going to see the behavior in mobile. So I'm just changing this to normal mode, and mobile Moto G4 we are going to see it is in 4 cells because extra small it is always 1. We didn't specify the size here. Now I'm going to change into small device like a landscape mobile, and I can see that cells are coming in 2 different columns because we specified the size as 6. And I'm going to change this one to iPad, so it's a medium device, and I can see 3 columns because we specified the size as 4, so 4 into 3 12, so we are going to see 3 columns or cells for medium device. And for large device we can see it is 3, so we are going to see 4 columns. To see that, I'm going to choose the breakpoint as responsive here and specifying the width as 992 for large device, and I can see all the cells are coming in single line because we specified the width as 3, so 3 means 4 cells we can see, so that's the reason we are having 4 columns or 4 cells here. To sum up, I'm resizing the window to see the behavior. It's whenever the width is getting reduced, the cells are getting reduced, and whenever the increase in resolution, the cells are getting increased. Now we can see what will happen if I have more than 12 size or width. I'm adding a new cell 5, so the width is totally 15 here because LG is having 3 again, so width is 15, and if I refresh the page you can see the cell is coming in a different row. So like this the cells will be pushed to the next line. Now we are going to see jQuery. jQuery is kind of a JavaScript framework how we use in last part, the same way we are going to use in .js file. The only thing is like it will have a lot of built-in functions that we can make use of it. For that I'm going to put a script tag the way how we used to put it earlier. The same way we are going to insert a script tag here, and then I'm going to close it, and I have to give a source. So last time we gave the source as our JavaScript file. Now I'm going to give a CDN which is also from website. There's a link, you can download it at your local and you can put that file here, or you can directly put this CDN link which will download CSS for you. So this is the CDN link, and then I'm going to add few attributes. Since we are going to use CSS, there is some integrity and cross origin. We'll explain it later, but right now we can just keep this 2 attributes along with this. So now that we are making jQuery as integrity and cross origin, which is a different domain, we are going to refer it. I'm going to put the same thing in CSS also, integrity and cross origin attribute. I'm going to save this file to see whether the JavaScript the jQuery is successfully linked or not, and I just saved it. And we can open this in browser, just refresh it and open the network tab inside that developer tool, and you can see that page is loaded. Like first one, bootstrap HTML is loaded, then min.css, finally the min.js is also loaded. The load time and status is also 200, which means the page is loaded successfully. If I click that, we can see the content of CSS, and same way we can see the content of JavaScript. So this is the one which is just downloaded from the CDN link or website. We have successfully loaded the jQuery framework to our web page. I'm going to use some scripting using script tag under head section to make use of jQuery library. I'm going to write some function. Once the page is loaded fully, I'm going to display alert message. For that, there is a selector $symbol document.ready, which means the page is fully ready for us. This is a jQuery way we can write a function to execute some commands, but go through the jQuery fully on your own. I'm just alerting welcome here. I'm just saving the page to see it, and if I refresh the page, once the page is loaded, you can see that welcome message is displayed over here. Instead of alert, I'm just going to change this into console. So I'm just putting it as console.log. It will be logged in our console now instead of alerting. So if I refresh the page, you can see that welcome is printed in the console log. So this is how we are going to use jQuery. We'll see it fully in some use case. We have learned most of the front end basics. So with this, we are going to create some use case for the front end. I'm going to copy our existing HTML content to a new file. So this is how we are going to create a use case for our front end. I'm going to rename this title as full stack feedback. This kind of a basically a feedback form we are going to develop, and I'm going to remove our contents, and I'm putting a new HTML element, which is h1. I'm giving a heading here as a feedback form. So I'm going to use a style class equal to text center, so that we can make the font in center. I'm saving this file with the name feedback.html, and I'm opening this page in a browser by double clicking it. So I'm just closing the remaining browser here, and we can see that feedback form, which is displayed as a heading and center. So next, we are going to create a form. So this is a form tag, this HTML tag. If you're not gone through, please go through all the HTML tags before coming to this part. And I'm going to create elements one by one here within our form. So basically the form contains all the fields whatever we are going to have. I'm creating a div here for first element. I'm going to specify the class as a form group, so that all the controls are displayed as a form group element. I'm closing the div as usual. Within this div, I'm going to give some input elements. So first one, I am planning to give username. So user can type in their name here. So the type is text, and I'm going to name this input element as username. I'm giving the ID for this field, ID equal to username, the same one, and I'm closing this. Within that, I'm giving a class equal to form control. These are all bootstrap classes. This will display as a form element here, and I'm just refreshing the page. So I'm going to create a label also, so that we can see the name element here for the same username. So I'm going to put attribute for equal to username, and I'm giving the name as name. I'm closing the label and saving it. Refreshing, we can see the name here. So now we have added one of the input element to the form, to type the username here. We can start adding the next field. I'm copy pasting the same one what are we created now, and I'm going to change this label as mail. I'm going to put as email. So this is mainly type the user email. I'm setting the type as email instead of text. This will have some built-in validation, and I'm changing the element name as email. I can change the label also email, and I'm changing the ID also email. The same class form control, and if I refresh the page, so we can see the email element added to the page. Now we are going to add one more element. This time we are going to have a div row column type. So I'm going to define a div with the class equal to form group, and I'm putting a style as row. So this is a row for us now, and I'm going to create a column inside that row. So I'm just giving that question, do you like this course? So I'm going to get a feedback from the user. So I just putting this here. I'm going to define the column with some breakpoint. So I'm going to give column medium device as 4. So anything over medium device or more, it will display in 4 with column. Less than that will come in a single column. So I'm going to create another column to get that yes or no question. So here I'm going to give input type. This is also 4 column, by the way. It's a radio button. I'm going to name this as feedback. So this is the name for this field, and I'm going to give the value as y, which means yes. So whenever user is clicking this option, we're going to give yes. I'm just giving the word explicitly yes, so that user will understand the meaning. And I'm going to create another option n. This is for no. Make sure that name of the field is same as feedback. ID also I'm just giving it as a feedback here. We can use it in jQuery later. If I refresh the page, we can see that question added to the form. This is coming in single line. It is large device, so we are having single line. If I change that view to mobile, it is coming in 2 different line in Moto G4. The question yes or no. If I change it back, it's coming in single line. This is because of the breakpoint. We set it as empty equal to 4 width, so that's the reason it's coming like that. Finally, I'm going to add one element. This is mainly to submit our form. So I'm declaring a button of type submit. So this kind of button will submit or send our form to the server. So I'm going to give the class as button. So this is a bootstrap class. All these built-in classes, it's mainly to give some styles to our form elements. Button hyphen primary. This is one of the class, and I'm going to give the name as submit feedback. This is to tell the user, okay, if you click this button, this will submit a form. So I'm just refreshing the page, and to see the submit button, if I click it, it will get submitted. There is no validation so far. It's get submitting it, and by default validation, since we type that email as a email type, if I give some name without a proper format, it will put a error saying that, okay, hey boss, there is an invalid email address, you need to correct it. Then only form will get submitted. So this is just inbuilt validation in Bootstrap. We don't need to write any explicit validation for that, but we can have some validation using jQuery in our forms. Now I'm going to mandate a user to enter all the fields. So I'm going to use an attribute called required. So as long as it is required, user has to enter the value for these particular fields. So if user is missing any one of these field, the form will not get submitted. So user has to enter all the fields mandatorily. So I'm giving all the values are required here. If I try to submit the form without giving values to those fields, it will throw an error saying that please fill out this field. So I'm just giving a name here to see, and I just submitting the feedback, but it's still not submitting since email is missing. It's continuously throwing the error saying that you have to enter a valid email address, that @ symbol and all those things. And I'm just giving a feedback. but still it is missing the third question. So I'm just putting yes and then submitting the feedback now. So the form is getting submitted. If I see the URL, I'm just going to explain in a notepad so that you can clearly see it. Anything comes after that question mark are the form fields and values. So first is username, it's Dhanabaran, and mail ID also came. Whatever I give it there, dhanabaranvk@gmail.com, and the feedback is Y. So this is how you'll get the form values when you submit a form. This can be used in backend whenever we are going to develop it. We are going to use these fields and values to connect to database and pass through these field values. Now we can do one of the front-end validation using jQuery here. So for that I'm going to use new field to validate that particular element. I'm going to enter just before the question. User has to enter the age. I'm just copy pasting the same one and just changing this to age label, and I'm just giving the text also age, and the type is number here. So it's so the user can choose a number, and I'm going to give the name and ID as age as well, and this is also a required field. So if I save this form and refresh it, you can see the age field is getting added, all those things. And if I give some negative values to age and try to submit a form, so now we have that required field, but we gave the age, it's not empty. If I submit it, it will get submitted. The reason is we just mentioned the field is required or not. We didn't mention anything like this has to be a valid age or not. So we gave the value, even though it is negative, it's getting submitted just like that. How can we handle this scenario now? So for that we are going to take the help of jQuery. Before that I'm just giving ID to my form as a feedback form, ID equal to feedback form, and I'm going to add a validation inside our script on ready statement. I'm giving a jQuery selector. So this is how we are going to select the ID, the hash symbol, feedback form. So this will select that particular form. Whenever it is getting submitted, I'm going to trigger this validation. So on submission, I'm going to get that event before submitting the form. We are going to validate the age. For that we are going to use a selector to get the age value, or the same hash symbol age, or this will get a element, and I'm just putting a val which will give the value of that particular element age. If it is less than 0, which is negative, then we are going to stop the form from submission. So we are going to throw an error saying that, hey boss, it's an invalid age, you have to enter a valid one. So this is the message we are going to display there, and we are going to prevent that submission, right? So we are going to use e.prevent default. This one will stop the form to getting submitted. So if I give the value to name and all the other fields, and if I try to give a negative value to my age, and if I try to submit the form, it will not going to get submitted. So it's going to throw error saying that invalid age, as we seeing here. And if I change the value to some valid one, so I'm just giving the age as 30, so that we are going to have a non-negative value and submit the form, we can see that our form is getting submitted and the value is getting displayed over the URL age equal to 30. I just want to give some sneak peek of GitHub source code management. So we have done some codings and we want to store this in some centralized manner that we can do using this GitHub. There are a lot of open source are available like GitHub, Bitbucket. You can use whatever you want. Here I'm going to show the GitHub part. If you don't have the account in GitHub, it is free one. You can just log into the URL and just create your own account. I already have an account. I just logged in using my credentials. Click the plus symbol and create a new repository. First, we have to give a name for our repository. I'm just going to give the name as my YouTube channel, Delightful Treat. You can give whatever name you want, but make sure that at the end it has to be green tick, which means the repository is available for you. There is no other repository conflicting with this name. Once you give the name, you can give the description. It is optional one, just to give some information about your repository. I'm just giving this repositories for my YouTube teachings. And there are two different options available for you to make this repository as public or private. I'm just keeping this repository as public so that everyone can see it. I'm initializing this repository with a readme file, just information about this repository, and I'm adding the license. I'm creating a repository. So with this step, you can see that repository is created for you in your account. You can see that name, whatever you created, it's available for you under your account, and all the information whatever you just gave it in readme, it's available for you. For cloning this repository, you have to copy this URL, and then you have to go to your local folder. I just created a GitHub folder here, and I'm using .is-git to clone the repository git clone, and I'm giving the URL whatever we copied just now, and I'm clicking OK. So with this, it will start copying that folder and repositories from github.com to your local system or desktop. So once you see these files, which means all the license and readme.file whatever we created just now, it is available for you here. And I am just going to copy the files whatever we have created, part 2 and part 3 tutorials, and I'm putting it over the same folder. Now that there is no tick mark in those new folders, I'm committing it to the master file, and I'm going to give some messages. Before that, I just want to give a glance what are the files we have created so far is added here. I just want to push all the files to the repository. I'm just going to click all for this, which means it will add all these files to the repository. And I'm going to give the name. I'm giving the name as code for full stack development. So this is the files we have created so far, and I'm giving that name. So you can give some meaningful description for your repository commit, and I'm going to set the date and time and author name by clicking the option. So this will make sure that all the commit is made by you under your name. So once everything is done, we can commit this one by clicking the commit button at the bottom. So with this, it will commit all these files. Once you see the success message, it will commit all these files to your local repository. Still, it is not pushed to the github.com. So if I refresh this page, still you will not be able to see these changes until it is pushed. So I'm just pushing it by clicking push and OK. So till this point, whatever is getting committed to local repository is going to be merged with your online github.com. So for that, I need to enter my credentials since it's going to interact with my account. I am just giving my username and password for github.com. Once it is getting authenticated, all the changes, whatever is committed to local, will get pushed to the remote repository, which is github.com. So once you see that success message, once total 9 files are committed, there is a success message with the message ID. Once you see these, you can see that folder also having a green tick, which is committed to the repository successfully. If I refresh this page, you can see that part 2 and part 3 folder are created here. Once I go to the folder, we can see whatever the files we have created so far is available for you to see it. So I'm just going to see that commit message, whatever we get given so far, the code for full stack development hands-on, everything is came here, everything looks good. So now with this place, you can take the copy for your own reference whenever you have time. If you don't have GitHub account or GitHub tool in your system, just go to this URL and click clone or download option. Choose download as zip file and store it into your local system. By extracting this, you can see the code for your reference. So far, we have gone through basics of HTML, CSS and JavaScript, and we have touched a little bit on Bootstrap and jQuery also. With that said, we have covered at least somewhat in front end. There are a lot of things to go through, but I think you can go for it now. Also, you can start with the front end frameworks like AngularJS, React.js, and all those things because we have the basics ready. Congrats and thanks everyone for showing interest on full stack front end. In next part, we are going to integrate this particular code, whatever we have created so far, with backend. I'm going to use Spring Boot for backend technology. Later, we are going to use this with database also. Sorry for the long session, it's more than 30 minutes now. I hope you have enjoyed this session. If so, please like us and share this video with your friends and students. Please subscribe to our channel, Delightful Treat. We'll see you in next video soon. Until then, it's bye from Dhanabalan Venkadaswamy. Bye bye.